What's up everyone, this is John with Skate Better, and today we are doing the Lakai Telford Low shoe review. We're back with another shoe review today. Why did I pick up the shoe? Well, I had another pair of Lakais. They were the Lakai Cambridge that I tried, I think like a year ago, and I had a really good experience with that particular shoe brand, and I wanted to give them another try. Lakai is like one of those skater-owned shoe brands, and I think they're a part of Krail Tap distribution. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's been a while since I tried them, and I wanted to give them one more shot, and I really liked the way that these shoes looked visually, so that was part of the deciding factor. Also, I do want to mention the price of these. It's an $85 shoe. I'm gonna get into whether it's worth $85 later, but it was my birthday and I didn't really care too much. Just wanted to get something that I liked, so I was okay with spending the money. For the shape of this shoe, it has sort of a more narrow shoe shape than some of the other shoes that I've skated. The toe is quite pointy. It almost reminded me of an Emerica type sort of shape, or whatever you want to call that. Maybe a little bit more narrow than Adidas or Adidas that I've skated. Almost like, it's like a Nike Blazer, but it's a little bit more squished down on your toes this way. So just know that if you have a wider foot, I'm not sure this would be your favorite shoe, or if you'd have a good time. But if you have a narrow foot, I definitely think you'd enjoy it, or if you enjoy a narrow toe box, I think this would be a great shoe for you. But it did feel a little pointy in the toe. The break-in time was not right away. It actually took, I'd say, about 4 sessions for this shoe to really break in. The toe of the shoe particularly felt very, very stiff. So this leather now is broken in and it feels all flimsy and everything, and actually feels quite nice, especially with the suede around. But in the beginning, it was very, very stiff feeling shoe, almost to the point to where I didn't even want to buy it. I was considering going with another shoe, but I really liked the way it looked, and I was hoping Lakai would not let me down, and overall they did not. Just know it's not going to break in right away. It does feel quite stiff, but after about the 4th or 5th session, the whole shoe started to break down and break in. So everything from the suede felt really tough, the leather felt particularly tough, and the toe box was the toughest feeling or stiffest feeling part of this whole shoe. So just to reiterate that. But most of the shoe, pretty much the entire shoe, does break in fairly well, I'd say, after about 4 to 5 sessions. The durability and comfort of this shoe was actually really interesting. From a comfort scale, there's not too much going on, so it doesn't have anything extra underneath this tongue. There's like a very thin layer, but no extra cushioning. It doesn't have any really secret hidden bells or whistles on the inside. It's a black shoe, so it's kind of hard to see, but the tongue is not particularly thick by any means. There's not a lot of padding that goes down. Actually, in this midsection of the tongue, from like here to here, there's a little bit of padding that's a little bit more than I'd say like the average skate shoe, but from the top to the bottom, or for the top and the bottom, it's not really a ton of cushioning. I would have liked a little bit more in the tongue. That's my consistent complaint. It's not that it's an uncomfortable shoe, but once again, the toe box was narrow, so if you don't like that, that would definitely affect the comfortable factor. I will say, the other pair of Lakais that I had, the heel was a constant point of concern that my foot was gonna slip out, and I do put insoles in, so they're a little bit beefier. With this shoe, that was not an issue. So they actually felt nice and snug and secure around my foot, which I liked. And then getting into durability, as you can see, the shoe, I don't think it wears well visually. Most suede shoes do not. I mean, I guess leather shoes don't really wear that well. I've had other shoes that I think wear a little bit nicer than this. Black suede is almost turning like a white color right now, which is kind of weird. The Lakai symbol or emblem is getting pretty destroyed. As far as the kickflip spot goes, I'll get into flick later, but the durability is actually really solid. So this whole piece that runs around here feels great. I have almost no visible wear and tear, just like the tiniest bit, maybe right around here on the very edge of my flick spot, like right there, the little tiny bit. But overall, this whole outsole is in great shape. The sole, on the other hand, or the bottom of the sole, is actually wearing down, and I don't really wear down my soles that much in my shoes, so when this is happening, it tells me that either it's not a great bottom or that it's just not very durable. So if you like having a shoe that feels really sticky, almost like a Vans, I don't know why Vans is a good example I'm going to use for me, they feel really sticky and grippy to the board, I don't think you would like this shoe. But if you want a shoe that you can adjust your feet really easily, move around a little bit more on the board, I do think this shoe will give you that as well. Another thing I want to mention around the durability is sort of a feature, but this sort of little area that comes up higher, the laces on this shoe sit nice in the top and in the middle. Some shoes are kind of wider on the bottom, so I didn't have any lace ripping down here, and I actually think this does a really good job of keeping this whole area protected, this little like pad right here. However, on the top of the shoe, I am starting to rip this lace. And if you've been following me now for some time, you know that I don't usually rip laces. It's not a thing that's happened to me in a while actually, but I am sort of ripping them in this shoe. So if you're a lace ripper, that will probably happen, although it does give you a couple other spots to lace the shoe as a feature. Overall, the shoe does last very well. So I do think durability, I would actually give it an 7.5 out of 10 overall. I think it's a fairly solid shoe for what you pay. Impact of this shoe was so-so. It is a cup sole shoe, and I did expect it to have reasonable impact support. However, compared to the New Balance Tiago 1010s I just skated, it was definitely less than that. So I'm gonna give it a solid 7 on impact. Just know that if you want something super beefy and cushiony, this is probably not gonna be the best cup sole for that. Contrary to the impact, the board feel and the flick of the shoe was pretty decent. More particularly the board feel. So from here forward, you actually do feel a good amount of your board. And I felt like I knew where my foot was, especially it being sort of a thinner silhouette of a shoe. It was a lot easier for me to tell where the edges of my feet were, where my toes were, etc. So board feel, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. Once again, it is a cup sole, so it's not gonna be that great. The flick of this shoe, I'm gonna give also a 7. And the reason is I didn't really love the way that this shoe felt for kickflips. I think because this is so narrow and the silhouette kind of follows that, yes, I knew where my foot was, but there's not really like any vulcanized strip around here to help. And sometimes with that New Balance or another shoe, it being like a little bit thicker right here, this is where I do my kickflips from. So when the toe's a little bit wider, it gives me a little bit more of an advantage to flick from, or a little bit more of a wider surface area. And this was such a small toe, so like it was really tough for me to get this area all up into my kickflips. But once again, there's not a lot of wear there, probably because I was just barely hitting my kickflip spot, which is why it's not so great for kickflips in my opinion. So I would have liked a little bit more area here to connect with. It's just the way that I do my kickflips. You might not have it. You might have a different issue. This might be your best shoe to kickflip from, but for me, the narrow toe, the lack of anything else really going around here to help it grip, I'm gonna give it a solid 7 out of 10 for flick as well. So final general pros and cons, thoughts of this shoe. I will say, out of all the skate shoes I've ever worn in the past like 4 or 5 years that I've been doing this one I got the most compliments on, which is weird. I like never get compliments at the skate park anyways, but I did have 3 people on separate occasions tell me that they thought it looked cool, or they're like, oh hey, I like your shoes, whatever. I don't know if that's a Lakai thing. I don't know if they just like the way that this particular shoe looked. I did think it looked pretty cool. I do think the shoe looks really good on. It actually looked, that's the other thing I'll say, it looked better on than I think it does on like the website or when you're looking at it in a store or whatever. It like looks better when you're skating it or when you're wearing it, I think personally. I also liked this little adjustability right here. I think that's a cool feature. You can lace it here, you can lace it down one more. It just helped my foot feel a little bit more secure, so like the lacing system I think is great on this shoe. This has a lot of perforability, so the shoe actually breathes really well too. It's the last thing I want to mention. It doesn't look like it will because it's really thick suede, but I actually felt like it breathed. The tongue is complete mesh for the most part, so that breathed, and then this whole toe area really opened it up. Overall, it is a solid shoe. I think you can find it on sale right now for 65 bucks. That's how much I would pay for this shoe. If this shoe is like 65, 68 bucks, I think it's a good deal. I think it'll last you quite some time. I think it performs fairly well, and I think it looks really cool. But I would not pay $85 again for this shoe, just because I don't think it has enough bells and whistles personally. Also for the break in time, and then the super narrow toe just wasn't like my favorite shoe, so I wouldn't pay more than probably like 65 bucks for it if I did it all over again. That being said, I hope you all did enjoy the shoe review today. I appreciate all the love and support on the channel. If you did like this review, please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Leave any questions or thoughts you have below, and I appreciate you all. See you next time. Take care.